I've talked about malaria before, but not in kind of a global-ish context. So, especially in regards to global warming, our favorite. Quick just little info about malaria. It is an intracellular parasite. That means it lives within the body's cells, in particular the red blood cells. When it's finished with its life cycle that's inside the cell, it bursts and releases all of its little malaria babies, whatever. It's a very complicated life cycle. I'm not going to go into the whole thing because it's long and complicated and kind of boring, but basically, it's bad because you need your red blood cells to survive. They carry oxygen, they do a bunch of things. You need your red blood cells, and we ideally don't want them to pop. Malaria is spread by mosquitoes, in particular the female Anopheles mosquito. Female mosquitoes are the only ones that bite. They're the only ones that take a blood meal. Those are the ones we have to worry about. Male mosquitoes, they're not a problem. So malaria is found particularly around the equator in warm tropical areas. So this is lots of areas in Africa, Asia, South America, lots of places where it's like equatorial and like warm and moist. They're found in these areas most commonly because that's where the mosquito likes to live. They enjoy warm, wet areas that have a lot of like moisture because mosquitoes need to lay their eggs in water because that's where their larvae hatch and survive. And so in warm tropical climates, that is the perfect place for these mosquitoes to thrive in. That's why malaria is so prevalent in those areas. Now, where global warming comes into this. Since the planet is getting overall hotter and more moist, that is a problem because that is by far extending the range of where these mosquitoes can thrive. As the planet warms up, the equator is not the equator itself, but the tropical and warm regions around the equator are essentially expanding. If we look at my perfectly fine, not backwards map, this is the equator here. These regions around there are the regions that the mosquitoes thrive in best. But if the mosquitoes' range was about here, as temperatures increase, so does the mosquitoes' range, and that's not good. Now, in North America, particularly the states in Canada, malaria is very uncommon due to the fact that, so we do have mosquitoes here, we have lots of mosquitoes, but not particularly the malaria-carrying ones, because it tends to be rather too cold for them, especially up in fucking Canada. But there have been newly reported cases of malaria in places like Florida and Texas, so the slightly more southern states. But malaria is being very widely found in places where malaria shouldn't be, where there haven't been cases reported before. So that's a problem. As the planet gets warmer, we are going to see a massive shift in diseases, and it's not just malaria. Things like yellow fever, dengue fever, like all of those. As the range for vector-transmitted diseases, so things that are spread by like mosquitoes and flies, they're going to be coming way over to places we don't want them to be. Like, we don't want them to be anywhere because they're bad, but they're going to be spreading all over into places that aren't equipped to handle them. Like, we're not very well equipped to handle malaria in Canada because we don't fucking have it here. So global warming, in regards to, like, at the very base level, diseases, that is a problem because lots of diseases are transmitted by vectors that love warm, wet climates. And so as the world, as the planet is becoming warmer and wetter, these diseases are gonna go absolutely nuts. So that is one of the very, very many reasons that global warming is bad, and it fucking exists, and if you're in my comments saying global warming isn't real, it was just made up, I'm blocking you instantly.